There is no greater decision a government can make than to wage war. 9 days ago, the United States launched wide-ranging strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen, which have continued until today. But now it's emerged the discussion to attack was conducted on the messaging app Signal. And breathtakingly, a journalist, Jeffrey Goldberg from The Atlantic magazine, was inadvertently invited into the group by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Today, Donald Trump's cabinet assembled in the White House, where the weighty decisions of state are normally discussed in the Situation Room of the West Wing. Later, the president claimed he knew nothing of this breach of protocol.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business.
Houthi rebels have long harried shipping in the Red Sea. But the Signal messages shed light on how the Trump administration views attacks like this, seeing them as Europe's problem, not America's, since so much European trade flows through the Suez Canal. At one point, Vice President JD Vance says, "I just hate bailing Europe out again." Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth later responded, "I fully share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic." After the first wave of attacks, the group congratulates one another, with National Security Advisor Mike Waltz sending a fist bump emoji along with a stars and stripes and a fire. The group also discussed current intelligence and military planning, all with a journalist reading every word.
It was potentially extremely dangerous because different journalists might have disseminated what he heard before the strikes. The Houthis might have been aware of it and taken defensive measures.
Today, one Democrat congresswoman who's long demanded tighter training on how sensitive intelligence is discussed has written to House leaders demanding action.
If this is true, which it seems as though it is, I believe, a violation of the Espionage Act. We need to understand whether or not it is, whether it's willful or whether it's just ignorance and negligence.
This isn't just a huge breach of security, it is also potentially breaking the law. And what's more, officials at departments like the Pentagon and the CIA were warned about the vulnerabilities of the messaging app Signal. Although it is encrypted, it is not as secure as official government communications, especially when a journalist is mistakenly invited to see how Trump's government is reshaping the global order by text message.
Well, we'll speak to Dan up there in a moment. But first, let's turn to Rohit, our global security editor, because it feels like your brief is something we very badly need tonight. Now, listen, it seemed, we had this over the weekend. Steve Witkoff saying incredibly nice things about Vladimir Putin pretty much every day or every other day from America. We have a very senior American official saying something nice about the Russians. Every day we have them saying something negative about the Europeans. And here in private, we see their complete contempt for us. What do you make of the implications of that?
Well, that's precisely why jaws hit the floor. Not just among Trump's political adversaries in the US this afternoon when this story was first published, but among allies, security allies, political allies right across the world. This is an abnormal way of communicating. It potentially puts US national security at risk. It certainly puts lives at risk as well. The consequences are potentially great and potentially grave. And this conversation reveals two things, not just the carelessness with which they treat such privileged information, but perhaps something more significant in the longer term for the UK and for other countries, which is that, what members of this administration say, they believe. There is this kind of diplomatic calculation in so many of America's allies, including parts of the UK system, which was that, they say one thing in public, but they really think another thing, and that they have Europe's back. Well, this suggests something quite different. There is real contempt for Europe that is exposed in this conversation. And the lesson may well be that when the Trump administration says something, believe them. And of course, people now look towards those statements about, the potential annexation of Canada or plans for Gaza in maybe very different terms.
Okay, Rohit, thank you very much. Well, let me put all that to Dan. I mean, Dan, you were talking about, the reshaping world order. You heard what Rohit just said there about we should listen to the Trump administration. They often do mean what they say. I mean, the actual consequences of some kind of action in Greenland, which we talked about earlier, the Vice President's wife is going there, and the National Security Advisor. I mean, do you think it's possible they might try something in Greenland? What would that look like? How would Europe respond?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've already had one of Donald Trump's sons, Donald Trump Jr., going to Greenland just before he became president. And now in 1 week, we've got 2 members of his inner circle going back to Greenland. Mike Waltz, as you said, who was the architect of that extraordinary security blunder on Signal, is going up to visit a space base in the far north, a US space base in the far north of Greenland. And then separately, Usha Vance, who until now hasn't really had much of a political profile, as would be normal for the Second Lady. Well, she's suddenly going up to watch a dog sledding competition in Greenland. Now, the Trump White House is saying, look, we have vested interests in the Arctic, trying to defend these visits. But already the Prime Minister of Greenland is accusing America of interfering in its internal affairs. It appears that this is definitely an attempt to increase the pressure both on Greenland and on Denmark in light of Donald Trump's comments about annexing the territory for America.
Okay, Dan, thank you very much indeed.